Good afternoon, all. We're all just kind of getting set up and ready. You are welcome to turn your mutes on. I do mute them by default. This will be interactive. So feel free to chat or just butt in with your mic anytime you like. And we'll give it just another minute before we get started. How are you doing, Tracy?
Good. How was your trip to New York City?
It was amazing. I stayed in Brooklyn this time, which completely turned around when I stayed in what is it called, Lower Manhattan 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. I like New York City. I find it very entertaining.
I found the same this time.
This time? Well, we got back. We had a good trip back. Ronnie ended up very sick. He's still out.
Oh, that figures.
I call him the California crud. I said, take you and your crud and stay home.
For those just joining, Tracy's talking about we went to DattoCon in San Diego last week. Personally, I just got back 10 hours ago by way of New York City. And as soon as we hit 1 after the hour, I will start the presentation. I'm going to get the screen shared here. So let me get started. Just a couple minutes after here. You have reached the Client Onboarding presentation sponsored by ITDUG, or the IT Documentations Users Group. As I was cleaning up slides a few minutes ago, I realized I didn't even have a slide really about ITDUG except for the URL at the end. So I will start off with that. Tracy Harden, who is the other one with the video playing, she founded the IT Documentation Users Group just over a year ago. I think you started it to help yourself get some other feedback about IT glue. We had some challenges, and she invited me to come co-admin with her just under a year ago, and we opened it up to more than IT glue. We're finding that a lot of our challenges are the same. Tracy, did you have some words?
Oh, I was going to say I found the group because I didn't know what I was doing. And then I was joined by several hundred other people that didn't know what we were doing. And then, Alan, you joined, so we're happy you're here.
We'll see. We'll see about that still. I do believe we hit over 650 users in the last few weeks. I know the last announcement we had for welcome members said about 13 folks in it while we were gone at IAMCP and DattoCon last week. So without further ado, the way I like to kick off the client onboarding presentation is I like to do a little role playing. I'm gonna pretend everybody in this room today is an employee of one of your potential clients. So I walk in as the owner of Eureka Process. Hey everybody, glad to meet you. I'm Alan Edwards, the owner of Eureka Process. Your owner has asked us to come here today to take over your technology support needs. We usually bring a sweet treat, so if you look in the kitchen or whatever, you'll find cakes, breakfast, whatever the cases be. We like to bring that in because we want to start off on a good note with you guys. We do support differently. There are 4 ways to get a hold of us. You can call us, email us. You can also see the link to our portal and our email address on your mouse pads on your desk. Today, we will actually have a technician coming by to every one of your desks to talk to you about your IT needs. Maybe something's broken, maybe something's slow. We want to hear about it. If we have a time, we will certainly try to fix it then and there. If we cannot, we will put a ticket in with you and for you to show you how it's done. We'll also be cleaning up as we go and labeling computers so that we can easily identify which machines you're having problems with. So please enjoy your treats. Look for us in the hallways and around your desk. We'll be as non-disruptive as possible, but I always like to caution you that, we are making a changeover. While we try to minimize any issues, it could happen. Please just let us know and we'll be on it as quickly as possible. And feel free to say hi to me while I walk around the building. I wonder how many of you guys have a onboarding process that looks remotely or sounds remotely like that. And that's what today's presentation is about, is how can we give that wow factor after the sale has been made. I do like interactive. I realize that many of us don't like interactive when it comes to these presentations. You want to turn on our camera, get some work done, that's okay as well. So with that in mind, feel free to interrupt at any time by unmuting your microphone and saying, excuse me, I have a question, or raise your hand in the participant windows. Hopefully Tracy might help me see those. I get pretty narrow-minded sometimes when I'm trying to remember what I'm supposed to be saying next. Or you can hit the chat option as well. In your Zoom, you might have to go to the little 3 dots that says more and use that to find the chat option if it's hidden from your screen, as it is on mine. So let's talk about client onboarding. First, I always like to, I hate talking about myself, but I like to say I have had some experience, been around the block a while since '94, doing this professionally. Yes, I know it's hard to do at this age of 29 to have experience with '94, but you can take that to the bank. I did own my own IT firm, 02 to 11, sold it, went to work for some others, and we had some great success there, which is why I founded Eureka Process in 2017, because I found that what gave us success at all of those businesses was the same thing, which was creating a culture of process. Sometimes it was the process that was hard. Sometimes it was the culture that was hard. But with those two things, we went far. Enough about me. What I've seen most in the forums, not as much in ITDUG lately, but in other Facebook forums as well for our industry. What you see on the screen is pretty much your onboarding process. Hey, can I have a spreadsheet on how to collect this data? And this is what it looks like. And this is great. This is absolutely necessary. However, for many, this is the be all end all. This is the ultimate part. This is all that happens. And I think we can do better, because I think this is what every MSP can do, and we want to be better than every MSP. I see from one of our participants, Josh, he also brings in lunch for his onboarding to show them the difference, and does the interviews. And Josh, I think you're going to see a couple of similarities then into our process and your process here as well. And feel free to pitch in any time to add, yes, we've seen the success with this, we do it different, and this is why. First of all, the important thing is that all of this begins before the sale. It's not just, hey, we got the contract signed, we're onboarded. At the same time, it's not, we got a check deposited, and the salesman's not even done at this point. Because you want to make sure that you have a proven process. And this is where you set your client up from the very beginning to understand that you do things a certain way, and that certain way guarantees predictably good results for your clients, and that's why you do it. And when you're able to deliver a process, and this is the Eureka process, the words don't matter as much in this case. I recommend that most IT firms have a similar process, in that there is a linear approach to get them into a circle, and you want them in a circle from which they cannot escape, because they don't want to escape. And so this is the period process. Tracy is smiling because while she and I talked about this months ago, she was the one who actually came out and designed one for her company. And then with permission, I stole it and made the graphic work for my company as well. I think mine's prettier, Tracy.
If you say so.
Maybe it's the logo.
Maybe.
Definitely this should be a part of your sales presentation and something that you follow in your methodology going forward. Just to give you another example of a proven process, and I didn't want to steal yours, Tracy, as for example, EOS from EOS Worldwide, or the book Traction by Gino Wickman. They always sell their services in a certain way, because this is the way that they've shown that it works. And this is the graphic that we have in every presentation regarding EOS meetings. Again, it's a linear process into a circle, a couple of bullet points to allow your salesperson or yourself to go over, make the sales pitch, set expectations, and show that you are an expert in your field because you have proven that this process works. I just realized that it looks funny me pointing over to my second monitor on the screen, because it could be anywhere from anybody. So let's jump into the onboarding project itself. And again, I am glad at any point to hear questions or what you're doing or not doing related to this. Do not save them for the end. It'll be a very short presentation. I'm curious how many phases each of you guys has. Mine has 4. And I like the metaphor of a launch of a rocket going off. It's not the only metaphor you could use. So I have the pre-launch phase, the night before phase, the launch day, and post-launch. I think, again, we all tend to focus on the launch day, and there's certainly a lot to do there. And I'll give you a little hint at how launch days should work. But I think it's super important that there is a concerted effort before you begin, and even another effort before you show up on site, because frankly, on site is expensive. And then there's a long process afterwards as well. So a couple of bullet points to the pre-launch part. I like well-timed introduction letters. It can depend on the size of your organization. Maybe all you need is one letter from you saying, hey, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Here is what you have to look forward to. And guess what they have to look forward to? The rest of your proven process. Tell them how client onboarding works, but you're reinforcing that you know what you're doing and you do it the same way every time. As your organization gets larger, perhaps you have a service manager. Let the service manager send a letter, and it says things in it like, hey, if you ever have a service delivery issue, here's my cell phone. We don't want to lose you because, one mistake happened. We're here to serve. Same from your finance department. Hey, if we ever make an invoicing mistake, this is how you get a hold of us. If you have questions, here's when your first invoice is due. Hopefully you've already gotten the ACH letter of permission slip signed at onboarding, at the sale. If not, great place to do it. Perhaps from the salesperson, or if you have a separate account manager, that would work as well. Yes, Tracy.
I have a question. You imply, the way you talk, you're implying that this is like a handwritten letter. Were you handwriting it or emailing it? And how do you determine who to give it to?
All good questions. I do not handwrite, mainly because mine are illegible. I don't quite make it. It is a form letter. I firmly believe in customizing with anything that you may know personally about the client, but you have the basic principles to cover. For example, in my one for the service manager, I like to introduce the service team. Hey, this is going to be who's helping you. How long they've been with the company. Make it personal. Mine are, again, typed up. I will hand sign it, and you can certainly choose to email it. That's okay. Yes, there's impact into mailing it. But sending it is also a huge step above your competitors, just having it at all, even if it's via email. Did I answer your 8 questions you asked at one time?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, others feel free to ask questions at any time. Another piece I like to do pre-launch is I will frequently send a salesperson back in after signing to handle some pre-launch tasks. We'll talk about another one of those things the salesperson is going to do while they're on site. But we will even develop a probe PC, which is a PC. I frequently recommend a little $300 Intel NUC. If you have a RMM agent, I put it on there, and I make sure this probe PC is as little dependent on their network as possible. At this stage, it might have to start out DHCP because I want a salesperson. No offense to our salespeople in the room who may or may not be as technical. And I want them to get permission to plug it into the network so we can start seeing things before our launch day. The reason we came up with a Pro PC concept years ago is, frankly, ConnectWise Automate was crashing servers in certain cases when the probe functionality was turned on. So we're like, we need a separate PC. And then as we were improving this process, it came to, wow, is there any harm in not getting this installed ahead of time so we actually have an idea what we're walking into before we get there? So that's what the Pro PC is for, and getting it in there early. While the salesperson is in there, we like to do data collection. That Excel spreadsheet you saw in a previous slide on collecting passwords, information, and such, send it to your client early, as soon as the agreement's signed, day after, etc. Reference it in all your letters. At that point, you've now increased your odds of getting that data from 0% to 5%, which is still abysmal. Which is why when your salesperson goes on site, this is a chance to go, hey, we haven't gotten your data collection spreadsheet yet. Can I help you fill some of this out? Do you have any questions? Can we send this to your incumbent vendor? And I realize sometimes you guys are doing hostile takeovers. Not a great place to be in, but at least through your client now instead of theirs. In that case, you collect what you can as best you can. On that spreadsheet, you should have things like ISP data. You don't necessarily have to have the incumbent for that. Like, who's your telephone provider? How do we call them? Go through that and try to get that data in person. There's bound to be a lot of blanks still, but at least we're starting the conversation. We're showing it's important, and they have a heads up on what they need before it's too late and we need it. And there are lots of other phases in the early days, things to do, but those are the kind of the highlights and the uniques that I see is missing most often. And then we have the night before phase. Guess how long that lasts? You guessed it, about a night. What we have found is that when we go on site, we were fighting some of the same problems every time, and they were delaying us, keeping our technicians on site far too long on the onboarding, not giving us enough face time to clients. And that was typically getting rid of the old incumbents automation tools, RMM, installing your own, and same for the antivirus. So what we started to do, especially with that pro PC in place, and maybe you already have the domain admin credentials, if data collection went well, we can go ahead and that night remove RMM, remove antivirus, install ours, possibly via that pro PC, if not by other methods, and get a head start. Because now we developed a punch list of things. Perhaps maybe you have an RMM guy or somebody dedicated for that for this project. It's like, hey, I got these 8 PCs I can't get the old stuff off of. Do it in person, as opposed to having to do all that while you're on site. Save yourself some time. Also, it's very important that you have an internal team meeting. Not only do you have to talk to the people who are going on site, you need to talk to your support personnel. This is go live day tomorrow. Your help desk needs to be prepared that, hey, there's some more calls coming in. What is your process for this? Is it possible that you want them to refer them to the on-site person, or is the on-site person going to be referring them to the help desk? Do you need to staff up? Do you need to make sure people aren't out sick tomorrow? And if so, where are the resources coming from? Get everybody on the same page before you show up. Maybe there's a dress code, attire, a meeting place time, carpooling, parking. Get that figured out before it's too late. Everybody's famous is launch day, go live day, on-site day. It's got a lot of names. There's a lot going on that day. I usually recommend taking a fairly large team. Obviously, you can't stop working on it for everybody else, but if there's anything you can put off for a day, let's take care of problems before they come to your help desk on a constant basis. A good one is user interviews. This is where you, as I mentioned in kind of my role-playing initial speech, we're going to go around to every computer, talk to the users. Yes, label the computer with a computer name. Teach them how to put in tickets. If they're having issues, walk them through putting in the tickets so they know how. If you have time, take a first crack at it. Maybe you can solve half of them really quick. The other half, let them know how a help desk works and what to expect next. An easy one, clean the computer. Take a wet wipe or a Clorox wipe, or an alcohol wipe. Clean the desk, lift up the keyboard, wipe the dust print away. It takes 30 extra seconds or so. It makes a huge impact on how you treat the client and how they feel about your company. And it's that emotional bank account that you're adding to, so that when things don't always go perfect, they're more likely to stick with you in the end. Quick segue story. And again, I'm glad for feedback. I was in a conversation with a couple of IT owners a few weeks back, and we found that the most loyal clients are the ones you screwed up the first time and then did everything possible to make it right afterwards. Almost more loyal than those that went perfectly. I just thought I would share that tidbit, that how you handle crisis goes a long way into a relationship. Now, and while your technicians are doing user interviews, your account manager, or maybe your salesperson, depending on how you're set up, should be doing an interview at the point of contact. This is, once again, going over that data collection sheet. Perhaps you also have security policies, and I hope you do. We have a list of about 8 pages of security policies with recommendations, such as some that we say, yeah, we're just going to do these. Others we're going to ask. And even others, we go, we don't necessarily recommend turning these on unless you have a specific need. And we go over them with how this is going to impact users. So prime example, hey, we require complex passwords. This is the disadvantage. This is the advantage. And this is what we're going to do. and it's so important that you have to sign here, releasing us for responsibility, denial of service letter, if a breach happens because this is not followed. So that's what's happening in two different rooms. Your technicians are scouring the hallways for users, and your account manager is with your point of contact, going over data collection and security policies. Meanwhile, or perhaps later that day, you have another technician, probably a higher level technician, in the server room, doing what we like to do during onboarding. You want to take care of everything that you can't do remotely while you're there. And typically this is a hub and spoke system, so that if you can get to items in the server room, you can get to everything else remotely typically. So this is your chance to make sure your ILO, your off-band management's working. Do they have it? Is it enabled? Does it have an IP address? Is it plugged in? Can you get to it? Make sure that happens today, because when you get a call late at night for something and you're still new to the client, this gives you options. And of course, there's labeling the entire server room so that end users can be your remote hands if needed. And data collection, writing down what's where, lots of photographs. We have entire processes on what photographs to take and where to store them, so that even the help desk who hasn't seen there can say, oh my goodness, do you see the blinking light on this server? And they can describe to the end user where to describe that server at. Another neat idea, which I've seen nobody do yet, is putting a camera in the server room pointed at the servers so you can see what's going on remotely, at least should the network be up. And the bane of my existence, or that I've seen, is when people begin to master all of these standards. Hey, Josh, you mentioned you placed one at all remote sites. So anything in between them, so that's cameras. So you are doing that. I am curious how well that's working. If you have a mic, would love to hear from you as well, Josh. Just interrupt anytime. On printers, those can be a pain in the butt to document and standardize on. However, I recommend for speed, label each one per your printer naming standards, which you should have. Print the information sheet from each one. Every now and then you have one that you can't print it from, take a picture and write that label name on top, and then you can always input that later in saving your on-site time. And Josh mentions that for his cameras, it's worked out great. He's only ever had to use it once, but it was a lifesaver at the time. He might not have used the word lifesaver. It also gives you great security monitoring by having a camera in the server room so you can see who enters and comes at all times. And if you're HIPAA, technically speaking, that door is supposed to be locked. I know that doesn't always happen, if ever. So most of you guys have a pretty good feel of what should happen on site. Get your data, make the clients happy, get to know some people. I try to send the same team that's going to be working with them remotely. But then you have the post-launch phase. And I think the key to the post-launch phase is change is disruptive. I recommend when you're on site, only change what you have to change. For example, as long as their password policy isn't hideous, can it wait another day? Can it wait another week before you change it? You don't want to associate negative change behavior with your arrival on site. In this one case, what can be put off should be put off from the on-site day, moving into your post-launch phase. For example, I mentioned you might have standardization. Maybe you have security policies you standardize on, or how maybe you rearrange Active Directory into certain folders so anybody can find anything and properly set group securities and such. Great, do those things. They're super important. They will make you more money. But wait, don't do it day one. Probably don't do it week one. Schedule these as little miniature projects. Make sure whoever's handling that is communicating with your client that, hey, we're about to make a change. We're good at what we do. Nothing should happen, but we realize that nothing's perfect. We don't know your environment inside or out yet. That's why we're doing this. So please communicate with us and communicate with your team that change is happening as well. Again, you really got to minimize your impact on changes. And don't forget to keep checking in with your point of contact and your clients as this occurs. You've set a high bar. Keep the bar going. And then my favorite are the post-mortem meetings after every client onboarding. The first few client onboardings we did as we started to develop this process, they took an hour or two. We had a lot of explaining to do and a lot of fixing to do. Those do get faster as the process gets better. I found this awesome graphic describing what a postmortem looks like. I completely stole it, but I loved it. You ask, what didn't go well? And I guarantee you, especially if you have a great culture, there's a list already forming in every one of your team members' minds about what didn't go well. Use that to your advantage. Don't forget to show appreciation for everybody that helped. So many of us as business owners, we're quick to correct people, and it's not even meant to be negative. It's just we want to improve, but we don't spend the time to take care of the things that are going well. Don't forget to mention what went well and show appreciation for those things. And then, of course, generate ideas. How can we fix it? This is how the idea of putting the probe PC in early on came about. It's like, oh, well, if this data can get done sooner, and it cost us nothing extra to have the salesperson attempt to plug in the probe PC before we get there. These are great ideas. I've also seen some great ideas after analysis. We've decided, you know what? I'm trying to remember the exact example. It's too expensive to work any tickets while we're on site. We didn't see a return on that. Our help desk is better equipped, so great. They went around to each desk, taught them how to put in tickets. Once that was established, that they didn't work tickets. It's certainly great FaceTime to fix stuff while you're there, but we're here to make a profit. And if you have a whole team standing by to do it, and a large workforce to get to, so be it. Make those changes. Learn from how things went before.
I got a question.
Oh, thank goodness.
You're talking like you're only talking to your staff. Now, wouldn't you be doing some aspect of this with the customer as well, in a way?
Yes, and your point is well taken. I will tell you, the postmortem meetings that I've had in the past were not with the end users, the client. They probably should be. Not at the same time.
No, same time, yeah.
This did come up during our quarterly business reviews, which is come just typically 3 months after our onboarding. So we have gotten feedback to that extent, on top of the unintentional feedback, meaning going to a networking event, running into a client who's raving about, oh yeah, these guys came in and they brought us lunch, and I mean, just those wow factors get communicated out loud even when you don't ask. Mm-hmm. In fact, the ones you don't ask about are probably the most impactful. But yeah, asking is certainly a good thing. If you ask, I'm totally off the cuff here with this information next. Be careful about asking too early. Sometimes they don't see the whole. Like, oh, you're on site and you disrupted all of our people, but what they don't realize is that you reduced ticket count by 30% because you came on site for a day.
Right.
That feedback is still good to know that that's something you need to address early, because if you set expectations, which is why in my original presentation it was, hey, we're here, we're making some changes, we're good at what we do, but things happen, let us know. Just to always set realistic expectations, or in the case of limbo, always put the bar high enough that you can take care of it.
Okay.
Good idea, Tracy. And then the fun part for you creative types, and I feel like most of us are creative in our own way in the IT field, brand this process. You've heard of a few. I hated when people mistook my company name for the Eureka Process. Like, no, we are Eureka Process. However, I realized that what we did was the Eureka Process. So we branded that process. I've had another client who calls theirs the new client launch mission, which again, I love the rocket imagery for that. I am curious what you guys might have heard used. Again, feel free to weigh in via microphone or chat. The client welcome initiative. Notice that nobody has used the word onboarding yet. Just like we don't typically sell MSP in our marketing. I hope we're not. Those are words that we use amongst us to talk about what we do. It's a form of shorthand. But come up with a brand. And again, even if you want to post this in ITDUG later in the week, if you have ideas on how to brand your client onboarding, do so. I'll just call Tracy out because she's been vocal. Have you branded yours yet? She'll figure out she's muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I try to mute because I have family in the house here and animals. Yes, we have the ProCare process is how we do it, because ProCare is our branded name for our managed service product, because like you said, nobody uses the word managed services.
One day that might change, but for now it's still like, what services are you managing again?
Yeah. It's not happy.
All right. And if you do have questions, we are running toward the end of our presentation, so please get those in here and we can answer them live. Tracy, let's not forget the question you had at the beginning, almost unrelated, but glad to discuss it while we have everybody on board, and I'll let you know when it's time for that. And I see Josh is also saying that his is also branded. If you'd like to share, please let us know. We'll bring it up. All right, so just last points about the onboarding process. Get everybody involved. As Tracy mentioned, that includes the client. It includes your salesman, your account manager, your owners. It includes everybody in the tech team. I want to hear what help desk has to say. Just the little level 1 guys who take tickets. How is onboarding impacting you? Is it making your day impossible? Do you appreciate it? In fact, we came up with onboarding. We made it a priority. No one's come up with onboarding. We made it a priority because help desk complained that we were inundated with tickets. We don't know how to work after day 1. So like, we need to get ahead of this. And that's where we started really paying attention to the client onboarding process. Make it fun. I say that with caution. There is nothing wrong with breakfast, lunch, t-shirt cannons, confetti, ticker tape parades. But make sure it fits your culture. 90% of my clients end up adding the words fun somehow, some way into their core values. And about half the time I talk them out of removing it. Because if they have to fake it to have fun, if they just think people want fun, it comes off as disingenuous, and then it's no fun for anybody, or as I like to say, it puts the FU in fun. So yeah, if fun is your thing, do it. You do need to be somewhat entertaining. Do not bore them to death. That will not be done well, but bring mouse pads, smile, food. Almost everybody is capable of at least writing a check for food that's delivered. Everybody enjoys that, and that will make fun if that fits your culture best. Don't be somebody you're not. Be available. This is straightforward. In fact, Josh and I was in Albuquerque visiting Joshua, who's on the call today. We were talking about just 10, 15 years ago, if you called Yellow Pages for any trade, including our field, he who answers gets the business because so many don't answer. Same is true, even though you've already gotten the check signed and deposited, be available. That's half the battle, just taking the call. Even if you've had a wonderful onboarding experience, make sure you remain available to them. This is, and in fact, this directly segues into the next point, which is you set a high bar. You do have to maintain it now. So keep that in mind when it comes to your response times and the promises you're making. If you foresee a service challenge, tell them that. Say, look, I could possibly see, based on your volume of levels, it might take us a couple of hours to get to your tickets. Is there some way I can help mitigate that? Have a conversation. The more genuine you are, the better your relationship with the client, the more you can survive mistakes, slower tickets. I've had a client who somebody quit, and it was a key position, and they were a bit short-staffed and behind tickets for a while. But by having that conversation with clients about what happened and what you're doing to fix it and getting them involved in the process, things were still fine. Wanted to leave you with a couple of resources you could possibly use to continue your education and ideas. One, of course, is ITDUG, the IT Documentation Users Group that Tracy founded so many years and a half ago. It's now that we're approaching 700 members, it is getting much more active. Would love to hear more questions and concerns out there, whether it's details about documentation. I know I mentioned that when we announced this presentation in ITDUG was client onboarding. It's like, is it documentation? Is it not? I said it is. Love to hear your feedback on that. But you have to document the client onboarding process, and then of course half the client onboarding process or more is documenting the client assets, right? So reach out there. There's a wealth of knowledge for people to look at to answer. I know Tracy and I are trying to weigh in on just about every comment with anything that we know or any connections we can help connect you to. Also, my website, eurekaprocess.com, we just did an overhaul. There is now a member section you have to sign up for, but it has all of our processes, at least the ones we've had time to upload, which is most of them, available for your perusal. What I'll do for you guys, if any of you guys will sign up for a trial, which is very limited access, I will just upgrade you to the paid membership. I just have to see the registration email come across today. And I'll upgrade you to the end of the month so you can check it out, browse, which is where you can get our client onboarding document, all the details, our quarterly business reviews, our first year client visit plan. There's a lot of stuff out there. I would love your feedback. There's also discussion forums. And I caution you, it's a brand new site. Discussion forums currently has one post from me, and that's it in the whole forum. So we'd love some participation there as well. Of course, you can contact me directly. My contact info is there, or find me in ITDUG. I'm frequently responding. Do we have any final questions or comments about client onboarding? And if time permits, and I have no idea what time it is, we can shift to Tracy's question about clients' employee onboarding. Yeah, we have time. Alan Miller asks if we're still looking for, if I'm still looking on eurekaprocess.com for initial feedback on my site. Please, I always like feedback. Probably one of my selfish reasons for giving you guys our stuff for free this month is because it's new. Would love your feedback. You can drop them into the forum post there. There's a improvement suggestions place, or email me directly, post it on ITDUG. Anything I can fix myself as an amateur, I'll fix. Everything else I'm bringing to my developer who I'm meeting with tomorrow afternoon. Would love to make some more improvement suggestions. All right, so Tracy, would you like to reframe your question, and we'll spend the next 20 minutes going over that?
Okay, so my question was, do you have a process for onboarding new employees at a client? This is kind of a different type of onboarding. Do you have some type of process that the client must follow when they hire or let go an employee? Which, of course, they need to follow that to let us as MSPs know what's going on.
The direct answer is I do not have one pre-written and available on our website. That's something I would love to write, and I can probably share with you what other clients have been doing with that. And I would love to hear, Tracy, ideas you have or anybody else who's here today, what you guys are doing. First of all, it's an age of security, right? So hopefully during your onboarding process, you have a permission slip for who is allowed to request those changes. That permission slip is available on our website. Not that it's anything special. It's just don't forget to ask. Here's the form, fill it out. So that's step one, is verifying who has information. And of course, in this day and age, you might want to make sure that if they contact you, that you can verify they're calling from the right place or emailing from the right place, or you verify with them.
For our clients in the financial sector, we actually have certain people that are approved, and they must open a ticket to create user IDs or to disable them. So we have it in writing. So when auditors roll on site, we have a log.
Right.
So that is what we have done.
You're covered because you had written permission.
Yeah. But it also gives you a time date stamp and who made the request. And there's only certain individuals at the client that have that power that, that we will actually act on.
Yeah, I got an amen from Josh. So what about, I cannot read chats at the same time. This is why I have help. And Alan, not this Alan, the other Alan mentions that, same for approval when there's password changes and such is validating, usually by a callback system, or in your onboarding process, documenting, is that even allowed? maybe maybe only one person can do it. So you have to have those things defined ahead of time, and we do have some of that online. What was your question? Your last comment, Tracy? I totally lost my train of thought.
Oh gosh. Well, it was just about how we've decided to use. You mentioned using a request form or having a form, and we just use our PSA online to do it.
So how many people get the request? Hey, I have an emergency. I need you to create a new user for me because I started yesterday.
I've had those with some clients where we don't even hear. We get a call. I just started work and, I need an account set up, and that's how we find out.
Okay, I think
we all have those clients.
Some people say that is all of the clients they have.
Yeah.
But I definitely have folks who even have online forms. I know one using JotForm, others using a website where they have to request a specific type of ticket to create a new user, and it has disclaimers on there. We need this much time to fulfill your request. And the problem is when those expectations aren't met, we as entrepreneurs hate to tell them no still, because we'd like to make them happy and we'll do our best. But we need to set expectations that, hey, you interviewed this position for the last 8 weeks. You gave this guy an offer 3 weeks ago. He said yes and gave 2 weeks notice. Is it unreasonable for us to get 2 days notice? I would even take this a step further and say, can you write your client's onboarding process or help them with it? When to request passwords, when to request equipment. That can take even longer.
Yeah.
For those of you using ITDUG, that could be a public document that you share. During your client onboarding, you can review those public documents with your point of contact or the managers you might meet while you're on site. Josh shares his frustration to everyone in the chat that, we have the forms, but filling them out, a different story from clients. I do hear that from most. No matter what expectations you set, no matter how often and early you communicate that, they just don't. It's an afterthought. So it is what it is, which is a phrase I hate in business. We have to accept that in the end, we're here to serve our clients. And all we can do is do our best to process around it and find the best client fits for us. These are also things to bring up in your quarterly business reviews, your QBRs, which is, hey, we could serve you better, faster. You have less frustrations if we get notice on hires. Total segue, but that's part of our QBR process is interviewing your technicians. What drives you nuts about this client I'm about to go see?
Well, we have a couple of clients that are constantly hiring. They just have quite a bit of turnover. So we always assume somebody new is coming on. We just don't know who or where that will be.
we just don't know what data to plug into the fields yet.
No, we really don't.
Do they give you enough notice?
Well, they're constantly. They have positions posted all the time, and there's just certain industries that are like that. They're always hiring. In some of those situations, we have shared logins, which is not our favorite, but they turn over so much. They might have a person sticking around for just 1 or 2 or 3 days, and then they're gone, and next person comes in. So in those situations, and for that particular client, we had the machines locked down quite a bit and actually moving them to Chromebooks and Chromeboxes to make it more secure.
Yeah, and of course, it depends on what security methodology you have to use. For example, that's not supposed to be acceptable for medical records.
No, this is not medical
but
or financial.
But I've seen the exception made that it's okay on the PC as long as they have individual login names to the EMR.
Yeah.
Again, not my favorite because I want to know who's doing what. And when it comes to managed services, keep in mind that you guys have the ability to make that happen or not. Meaning, if creating a user and removing a user is a pain in the butt for you, then it's going to be a pain in the butt for the client. But if you make it easy, like, oh yeah, we can do that in 5 minutes. Our live answer help desk has a process to create your users. Then maybe they like having it customized for the individual.
Joshua points out that must have named users at all points, including at the Active Directory EMR. I can't argue with him on that. That's probably true. I would suggest, I would say that most medical smaller establishments don't care, unfortunately.
I know some people on this list, meaning at least one, who just don't do anybody covered by HIPAA because they're tired of them not following it, and they feel potentially liable that I don't even want to get involved.
Yep. We do it because we're already doing financial sector, so HIPAA is not quite as aggressive as financial sector, and a lot of the same tools and methodology applies. But yeah, it's very, until they get into some kind of processes where they're audited on a regular basis, they just wait to get caught or something to happen.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from anywhere before we do our wrap up?
I was just going to comment that you don't have to write their entire onboarding or security policy, but if you can assist them with it, you can kind of nudge in, you have to be doing background checks, you have to be doing this. Here's the training that you want people to get or sign off on. And you can obviously put notification of you as part of that wherever you want.
Yeah.
Excellent advice, Alan. I just recorded a podcast with Carl Palachuk about 2 hours before this meeting because jet lag was not enough for today. And one of the conversations that came up, and hopefully you'll see that podcast on July 4th for those subscribed to Small Business Thoughts, it's easier to edit something that exists, or as Carl says in that interview, you can't edit a blank page. So by giving them something, they're more likely to fix it than they are to create it. So great idea, Alan, to get them started, especially for the selfish reasons of show them where to interact with you at, or how to prevent problems for you later. So what we do is manage services. That's actually what we're managing. We're managing the whole experience to make their business better, and therefore our business is better. Other comments? All right. Well, thank you all for joining today. For those who are still with us, sneak preview on July 31st, I think it is. Basically, it's the same day of the week, meaning it's the last Wednesday of the month. Unofficial schedule we've been sticking to. We have, and I don't ever recall his name, I just booked this on the plane the way here. But we're going to be learning about Visio tips and tricks for documentation. The gentleman joining us wrote an entire software system for automating the process. I don't think he's going to speak a whole lot about that part, but there's just so many things built into Visio, and I consider myself a Visio expert, and he proved me wrong in our 30-minute call to talk about that. So look for that invite coming out soon. Also look for potential feedback, and I will try to get this up on our website in the next day or two, so you can find this in our free section just to rewatch the video or share with friends. And the last reminder, if you go to eurekaprocess.com, sign up for a trial. If I see it come across my desk today, I will upgrade that to paid for the rest of the month. Any other parting words, Tracy?
No, I don't have any at this time. Can't wait to see the Visio one because I love Visio too.
Yeah.
I've used it a long time, so I'm always looking for new tips and tricks for that.
And the next few days, I will get that event created on ITDUG and the webinar link and all that up there and ready to go. All right. Well, thank you all for your participation and joining. I really appreciate it, especially for the feedback. Alan, Josh, thanks again. And looking forward to seeing you on ITDUG or elsewhere out in the universe. You guys have a great day.
Bye.